Hello, yes, that's for Joyrider TV, coming from the all new Joyrider studios, where I'm just gonna try. No, can't be done. But hello and welcome to this week's Q&A, where hopefully I'm going to be able to answer some of your most burning catamaran sailing questions. Not live, then you can still get involved, but it'll be for next week's session. So if you've got any catamaran sailing questions, just put them into the comments below and I will respond to them next week. Oh, hi, Hanny. How are you doing? Hanny's on board in the Netherlands. Yes. So, hello, Lee in Clearwater, Florida. Hi, Coley. Great to have you all on board with us on this fantastic January evening here in Greece. But maybe it's the morning where you are, I dare say, or maybe even mid-afternoon. Who can say? We got Spicy Fist 1. Great to have you on board. Looking forward, as always, to your stuff. Boom. Yeah, what is cooking on Joyrider TV? Well, the biggest thing that has been happening has been the final results of the 2022 Speed Stick. And it finished with quite some excitement, with an absolute flurry of results coming in from Australia, which is very nice. We want the Aussies on board. We want the Kiwis on board. We want the South Africans. We want the Brazilians, the Argentinians, and anybody else who is able to get out sailing in some decent breeze, because the 2023 Speed Stick has begun. And at the moment, it is wide open. So even if you're going out sailing on something that is not particularly quick in not much wind, you will be in first place on the Speed Stick. So get your results in quick to get at the top of the leaderboard without having to go quite as fast. We don't want any massive speeds too early, to be honest, because if we do, then it'll, you know, it's almost like a spoiler alert. The biggest speed's already been, and it's only February. Yeah, so if you can hold back on your fastest speeds till at least March, April time, and then we are going to be having a good time there. Speed measuring device. So the way that we're measuring the speed, some kind of GPS device. So have I got the third example? Yes, I've got the third example. So 3 examples. Here we go. New Joyrider studio. It's got everything, this place. So first example, and the most obvious, is a GPS watch. I use a Locosys GW60. The reason that I use one of these is because I've got one of these. Oh, yes. If any GPS builders would like to send me a GPS to test, I'll do many GPS tests as people send me GPSs to test. But this one's good because it gives lots of statistics, like what your biggest speed was over 500. Oh, sorry, it's not over this. Does it do? Yeah, it does. Over 2 seconds, which is what you need for an official result. But on the Speed Stick, we're just taking your max speed because not everybody has that ability. So over 2 seconds, over 10 seconds, then we can get the speed over distance. Then it will do top speed for 100 meters, top speed for 500 meters. So we can really look at the statistics there, which is great fun on the Locosys. The next one that I use is on the GoPro. Any GoPro since the GoPro Hero 5 has an inbuilt GPS. And what that means is after you've been sailing and you've done your filming, you can overlay your GPS data onto the video. Looks very cool. And it's kind of like having double your money. You go out sailing, have a great time, you come back in, and then you get to find out how fast you went after you've overlaid the data from the GPS. That's any GoPro camera since the 5 has that built in. For overlaying the data, I use it's called telemetry overlay, and that's much better than the GoPro telemetry. Isn't very good. You can only do miles per hour for a start, and you can only actually do it on your telephone. You can't do it on your computer, which when you're dealing with big files isn't particularly handy. So telemetry overlay, there is a link, by the way, in the description below if anybody's interested. But on the GoPro, good way of measuring your speed. And the third way is on your telephone, just running an app like, I think the one that's been getting recommended to me is Race HQ. Is it called? First person to let me know if that's what it's called. We'll get a thank you very much. Yeah, so Race HQ, but I use Strava on the telephone, which works very nicely as well. So those are my methods of seeing how fast you're going. Good for the speed stick. Also good if you're training. A good thing to do is look at your kind of speeds, especially when you're sailing upwind. See what sort of speed you're getting upwind compared to the angle that you're sailing at. And then what you can do is say, all right, our average speed upwind is 12 knots. We're going to call that our average speed. So then if you're really training hard, what you can do is after you tack, see how quickly you can bring the boat back up to that 12 knots boat speed. Very, very good. Focused. Nice. Well done. Okay. So Leland Lee says, can you talk about the physics of flying the hull? Yeah. Now, what would we talk about? So, all right. If we just draw a simple picture of our, in fact, we're going in the blue. We're kind of looking from, I don't think it matters if it's behind or from in front. So, and then, is this still on the screen? Yeah. Okay. Oh, no, that isn't on the screen. Okay. I'll do it on the other tack. There we go. Sails. So when we're sailing along, if we talk about it in the context of you want to get flying a hull, you want to kind of practice flying a hull, the best point of sail to be on is a close reach like this. So halfway between sailing upwind, which would be more like that, if you're lucky, or beam reach, which is like that. The close reach should give you the most hull flying potential, especially if the wind is a little bit marginal. So get on the close reach. That is the first thing to do on that course. And then, although the wind in our diagram is coming from the top, which it would be, this would be the angle of the wind to the boat, the wind is hitting the sails side on. So what we're getting is we're getting pressure in this direction from the wind. And what that is doing is pushing the whole lot sideways. Yeah, everybody with me? Okay, it's pushing the whole boat sideways, even if it's from in front of you, like if you're sailing upwind. This is what's making you fly a hull. everything is pushing the boat sideways, but this hull, regardless of what type of boat it is, has some sort of design feature. Oh, next to no audio. All right. Thank you, Zach, for letting me know. I have a microphone, but I think when I'm drawing on the board, perhaps the audio goes a little bit flaky. Just let us know if that is a bit better, Zach, if you could. Yeah, so when you're sailing along and you've got this pressure coming from the side, the fact that the hull is being stopped, this bit of the hull is stopping the boat from slipping sideways, which means the natural thing to happen is for the rig to go that way, which means this hull is coming up out of the water. Now, that is the reason why we fly a hull, because this hull is stopping the boat from just slipping sideways. Maybe we've got a dagger board. Maybe we've got a skeg hull like this. Any of these hulls are going to stop the boat slipping sideways, and that is why we fly a hull. Then, to get into the refinement of flying the hull, what we can do is adjust our weight. If we're trying to get that hull out of the water, then what we can do is a bit more inboard. By sitting closer to the middle of the boat, the hull is going to lift much earlier. But if you've got more wind, then you can sit more outboard or even trapeze and still fly the hull. So there are some options there. Yeah, and then we can alter the amount of power that we've got as well, which is going to change our ability to fly the hull. So we can, if we want less power, so if the hull's flying too much, we can turn the boat up towards the wind. Nice. If we want a bit more power, we can maybe come a bit more away from the wind, so steer down a little bit. But once we're on a beam reach, if we steer any further downwind from the beam reach, so down here, we're actually going to lessen our hull flying ability. And then, so that's with the steering. And then the final one is with the sails. This maybe would be quite obvious, but if we want more power, which is going to give us more lift of that hull, we pull the sails in tighter. If we want less, we let the sails out. Okay. I hope that answered your question there, Leland Lee. Thanks for the good question. Okay, Spicy Fist 1 says, looks like Greece is holding back its fastest internet speeds. Okay, it means I'm going to have to kick the boy off Fortnite. Oh, yeah. All right. How do I do this as quickly and painlessly as possible? I'll be with you in a second, just improving the internet. Okay, and there we are. All right, so hopefully that will do the trick. We're just doing some testing with the new facility, what the internet is capable of just here. All right, let's check in with everybody else who's checking in. So Zach says, finally catching live chat from the start and internet is broken. I'm getting sounds and words and have had some movement. Okay, apologies for that, Zach. Hopefully we have fixed the internet. It is a new facility and we're just getting our wheels in motion. So apologies once again. All right, we got Dobie on board from New York, USA. Okay, just listening in. Great stuff. I have got your questions in the preloaded questions department, which we will be having a look at shortly. Oh, yes. All right. So also just checking in, we've got RJ Fleet. Hello from Frozen Lake Benton, Minnesota. No sailing today or for a while. Yeah. Sounds like it could be a bit interesting if there is no water. We've got Paul on board in Northern Italy. Nice to have you on board, Paul. We've got Mr. Tony KP checking in from Denmark. And you're not going to believe it, but Mr. Tony KP has got the next question in the preloaded. And he says, all right, yeah, this is quite interesting. He's got a question regarding the rudder pivot hole position. My Lexan rudders on my old Hobie 16 have got an extra hole which has been drilled in there about 1 centimeter from what he assumes is the original hole. And this is the hole that they have been using and also which is being made now. The hole, sorry, I just, is forwards from the original. All right. So which hole is the right one? And what is the explanation for why a second hole was put in the rudder blade in the first place? Okay. All right, let's have a look. So this is how, kind of roughly, how our rudder blade should look as standard. Now, what I would assume, if the rudder blade's got another hole drilled in it, then perhaps that would mean that that rudder blade has, this is option 1 for the Y. It might mean that that rudder blade has been used on a different type of boat in the past, such as a Hobie 18, because the Hobie 18 has got the other style of rudder stock. There are 2 styles of rudder stocks used on Hobies. One is like this. Rudder pin goes down like that. That's the style that's used on the Hobie 18 and is also used on like the Hobie Tiger, Hobie Pacific, and the more modern designs. And then there's the original style rudder stock. Which is kind of like this, which a lot of you will be familiar with, as that is the style that's used on a Hobie 16, Hobie Wave, Hobie Dragoon, Hobie 14. And I think that might actually be where the list finishes. And this is the older style of rudder stock. Now, the 2 styles of rudder stock do require the holes on the rudder blade to be in a different position, because if you put a Hobie 18 rudder blade in a 16 stock, when you lock it down, it's going to, even when you lock it down with the adjustment plate pushed as far forwards as it will go, the rudder blade will still come backwards. So the way to address that is, the way that we would address it would be to take an original Hobie 16 rudder blade, lay it on top of the Hobie 18 rudder blade, clamp the 2 together so they're together solidly, and then just drill through a new hole, which, because we've used an original 16 rudder blade as a template, we know that that hole would be in the right spot. So that would be one reason for why that hole has been put in. Now, can you get your rudder locking down correctly if the hole is in the wrong place? The answer, unfortunately, is no. So if, Mr. Tony KP, if on your rudder blade, the hole that you're using in the blade, so this is probably something like how it would look, just a second hole like that. If the hole that you're using means that your rudder is not locking down correctly, then use the other hole. That is all that I can offer you just now, because that would be what I would do. And then once you're using the other hole, you'll soon find out if that hole is in the right spot. So there you go, I think. Thanks very much for your question, Mr. Tony KP. And I'm going to move on to a question from Hanny, who's on board at the moment from the Netherlands. So Hanny is ready to take the plunge and visit Wildwind Mauritius. What? There is a Wildwind in Mauritius? Oh, yes, there is. And it really is like paradise because, yeah, palm trees, sandy beaches, amazing food, good times, great sailing. And Hanny's first question was, have all of the Hobie 16s at Wildwind Mauritius got Spinnakers on board? And the answer, I believe, the last time I looked, is yes, all of the 16s at Wildwind Mauritius do have the Spinnaker on board. Now, just because the Spinnaker's on board, it doesn't mean that you have to use it. But what it does mean is you'll have a much more interesting time when you're sailing downwind, either if the wind is a bit lighter or if you've got a long way to go on the downwind leg. I think Jens knows, and he says, yes, they have. So yes, all of the 16s have got Spinnakers on board. Now, why? This is a good question. Not that anybody asked, but I'm asking it for you. Why have all the 16s in Mauritius got Spinnakers fitted, whereas we don't use Spinnakers on our 16s in Vasiliki in Greece at all? Well, here's your reason. In Mauritius, there is generally a bit less wind. Not a lot less, still champagne, just not this sort of champagne that's going to hit you in the eye when the cork pops out that we occasionally get here most days of the week in at Wildwind Greece. But it's champagne sailing, but a little bit lighter. And one of the main sailing activities that goes on at Wildwind Mauritius is sailaways, where they'll take the fleet of boats and sail a good distance to another beach or another town, have some lunch, sail back. It is absolutely fantastic. I made a whole series of videos about Wildwind Mauritius about, what would that have been? About 3 years ago now, I think. But they're still relevant. The reason we don't use the Spinnakers on the 16s here is because most afternoons the wind is pumping, and what we want is as little on the boats as possible so that they are as uncluttered as possible. Not that the Spinnaker kit on a 16 adds a lot of clutter, but it does add a bit of weight to the front of the boat. So if you're sending it on a beam reach and you've got a Spinnaker kit on there, there is a bit more weight in the front of the boat, a bit more windage as well. And it means that your top speed is just going to be restricted slightly. And we can't have that here. Because also here we've got many other boats where which do have Spinnakers fitted. Yeah, so there we go. That is the why. And then Hanny also asks, is there a difference with the operation of the Spinnaker on the 16 compared to the Spinnaker on the bigger boats such as the Hobie Tiger, Hobie FX1 Pacific? And the answer is, on the 16s, they would generally have a one-line system. So there's two ways of having your Spinnaker rigged, either with a one-line system or a two-line system. So we're going to draw a picture here. Hope everybody's looking forward to this. All right, so Spinnaker pole, front beam. Hulls. All right. So with a one-line, oh Christ, with a one-line system, what we generally have is a double block somewhere here. Hold on, let's move this way a little bit. And then the tack line would come through the double block, through the block in the end of the pole, and then go to the Spinnaker. And then this is an all-in-one system, so there's less to do. The halyard that runs down the mast, if we imagine the halyard would come down through a block here, through this part of the double block, and then through, this is a cleat on the front beam. That means that when you pull the Spinnaker, as well as pulling it up, it's going to pull it out to the end of the pole as well. The other system is to have that as two separate lines, which is beneficial if you are in a racing situation and you want to pull your tack line out first. So like before you get to the buoy, you have the tack of the Spinnaker already out. So as soon as you're going around the buoy, it doesn't have that much to go up the mast. And there you go. Boom. So that is the difference with the Spinnaker system. Other than that, it is pretty much the same. We've got a chute on the 16s, the same as the bigger boats. This halyard would go through a block or maybe two on the trampoline, and then down through the trampoline, through the chute, and up to the Spinnaker onto the retrieval points for easy retrieval there. So there we go. Thank you very much. Good question, Hanny. I hope you have a great time out there. There's certainly some great guys working the Wildwind Mauritius Beach who are there to make sure that everything is cooking on gas. Great stuff. Okay. What else have we got in the live chat? We have got Paul asks, did the new Hobie 16 babies already reach Vasiliki? Not yet. No. Word on the... Yeah, so in case you didn't know, we're getting 4 Hobie 16s delivered to Wildwind Vasiliki, which should be arriving by the end of the month. Now, that is exciting. They're not brand new boats. They're boats which have come from the World Championships from last year, which are in Spain. So they're 2022 boats, which have been used for about a week or so, 2 weeks. So they're going to arrive. I'm going to get them off the truck. Oh, don't strain yourself. Then I'm going to take one of them aside and I'm going to make the all new building a Hobie 16 from the box video. Now, if anybody else is as excited as I am about that, then that means you've definitely come to the right place, because that one is one that we've been waiting for some time. So there you go, Paul. They are on their way, but not here yet. All right, we've got Marcelo on board in Minas Gerais, Brazil. Great to have you on board, man. Glad you could make it. It's really nice. I do like the fact that we are hitting the corners of the planet with this live broadcast, and how we are really joining the world in a love for catamaran sailing. All right. All right. So Jens, who has clearly recently been to Mauritius, says they've also got Spinnakers on the Pacifics. So some great long distance sailing in Mauritius. And he's greetings from Sommer Bay, champion her 210. Oh, champagne conditions here too. 10 to 20 knots, flat water, small waves, nice stuff. All right, Mr. Tony KP with the rudder blade issue is going to play around with his rudders as soon as the weather gets a little bit more dry in Denmark. Great stuff. All right, Jens has got a question. I am alone on a Top Cat K2 on a broad reach. How to work with the Traveller and main sheet to keep the power under control. I had a little problem with a nosedive that was around 15 knots plus. Okay, yeah, so this is a good question. If you are sailing solo, how do you manage the ropes that you've got to use to keep the boat under control? And so, you know, under control, I think we could just say. So this, I just say what I would do because that's what I would do, and that seems to work for me. So what I would do is, whether you're trapezing, you're intending to trapeze or not, I would always, first thing, especially if it's windy, deal with the most of the power first. So I would, first of all, when maybe establishing that leg, or maybe you've just gone around a mark, or maybe you've just tacked and you bore away, I would deal with the Traveller and the main sheet first. So if you have to do a bear away in a strong wind, easing the Traveller and the main sheet at the same time really, really helps to keep the pressure off the front of the boat and prevent the nosedive. How would you actually do this? What I would do, can we demonstrate this here? Not exactly, but we'll try. Tiller extension over your shoulder, and then main sheet out of the cleat. Hold it in your hand with the tiller extension, maybe under the arm, I don't know. And then the Traveller line out of the cleat as well. Then hold the Traveller line and the main sheet in the front, the front hand together. So you still, steering is very important. Do not be losing control of your steering. And then you're just going to ease both lines out at the same time. It doesn't matter if you ease too much of either the Traveller or the main sheet. It's fine. You can always pull it in again. It's not easing enough, which is going to lead to difficulties. So ease them both at the same time with your hand, just by loosening the hand. You can, of course, ease a bit of main sheet, ease a bit of Traveller, then like that. But I like to do both at the same time. But generally, if I've been sailing in a stronger wind, I'll have the Traveller out about halfway anyway if I'm sailing solo. So then you don't need to worry so much about easing the Traveller. You can do the main sheet first and then ease the Traveller off afterwards. So I would take care of the Traveller and the main sheet, and then afterwards adjust the jib and set it. And what I'm trying to do with the Traveller line and the jib sheet, these are the lines that we're not going to be in constant supervision of, is set them in a position, if it's windy, where they're just going to be a bit looser than what the optimal position would be. There we go. A bit looser. And then if you do, perhaps you sail into an area of less wind and you want to get the power back on, then what I would do is hold the, what's this called? Main sheet and the stick in the same hand, allowing the other hand to then be able to pull the Traveller in. And then, of course, if you are sat on the boat, the old trick of putting your foot over the traveller rope to get it to go into the cleat a bit easier is always a good trick to use. Once I'm back on the water, I will demonstrate that technique in perhaps a short video format. There we go. Hope that helps, Jens. All right. So I think at this stage in the game, 35 minutes gone. Just going to take a short commercial break. That's good stuff. Now, it's a commercial break, by the way. So you may be noticing I'm wearing this fantastic Bad Boy 94 t-shirt. That is one of the things that I like to do when I've got a minute is custom designs of t-shirts. In fact, can I spin round without hitting my whiteboard? Custom designs of t-shirts. So you'll notice on the sleeve, we've got the sailmaker represented there because OS3 is making the sails. And then on the back, oh yeah, that's because I'm sailing with Swedish John. He's from Sweden. So if you're going to an event or if you've just got a boat and you'd like to celebrate your boat that little bit more, then I can make you a custom design for a t-shirt or a hoodie or anything else. Even we've got hats as well. The beanie is my favorite. So just send me an email. You'll find my email address in any, it's totaljoyrider@icloud.com. But it's all over the place. And we can take it from there. Creative. Anyway, that was a commercial break. Thanks for staying with me. Okay, so who else have we got on board? We've got Fairly Honest Off-Road with us in Portland, Oregon. Great to have you on board. USA. Thought as much. All right, so Dobie, on to your preloaded questions. And in the live chat, as to durability of hull, pulling it over rocky shore, durability as well, how to buy come-alongs and such. So Dobie also had a preloaded question about the same situation of what you can do when you going sailing and camping sailing. How do you get the boat, the Hobie 16, up onto the beach when the beach is quite rocky? Yeah, this is a tough one because you absolutely don't want to be dragging any type of boat, even a plastic one. You don't want to be dragging a boat over rocks, whether they're anything other than the smallest, finest shingle. Now that is all right because that small, fine shingle kind of acts like very tiny little ball bearings under your boat, and they are going to wear a bit over time if you do it a lot, but they're not going to put dirty, great big gouges in the bottom of your hull. But either way, it's not ideal to be dragging your boat up unless you are lucky enough to have a sandy beach. Now, I've been thinking about this, and it sounds like you definitely need to have the ability to slide the boat out of the water. And taking a full launching trolley with you, there is a way to do it. If we take the Spinnaker off this boat, like, for example, if you were going to sail somewhere, like we used to do this, if I was actually sailing to another sailing club to do an event, then this is how I'd take the launching trolley. It's quite common to do it like this. You just put the launching trolley or beach wheels, beach dolly, cat tracks, whatever you like to call it. So you have it upside down, one of the cups there, one of the cups there, then you've got the axle, and then you've got the wheels kind of like there. Of course, you'd have to put it far enough forwards to allow the space for the wheels, and then just lash it on there. That works well if you're going to, I'd say if you're going somewhere with either tide, so you have to pull the boat out of the water a long way, or if you're going somewhere and you're going to be putting the boat onto a concrete slipway or asphalt, or something particularly nasty for your boat. But having done some thought about it, I would say a possible method here, when if it's not appropriate to be taking a trolley with you on your sailing, and let's face it, who wants to go sailing with a launching trolley strapped to the bows of your boat? Nobody. But what you could do instead is take some pieces of plastic guttering. I don't know if you call it that in the USA, but from the side of a house where you've got, where you've got the roof of your house. Where should we put this? Over here. There's the roof of your house. And then where the roof meets the wall, you have a little plastic bit like that to collect the water. That's in the UK, we call that guttering. I don't know if that is the same in America. But so if you just took about a 2-foot section of guttering for each hull, and then use that to put under the boat, and then slide the boat out of the water on that bit of pipe, that could be what you need to prevent damage to the hulls. And that would store quite easily on the trampoline. Now, I believe that Scott is on board, and he's got a top tip for exactly such a thing. So Scott says, I park on a rocky beach for the summer. I've taken 6-inch PVC 12-foot lengths, cut them in half lengthways, and use them as skids over the rocks to slide the boat over. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're talking about here, except rather than cutting the pipe in half, we're taking guttering, as I like to call it, and use that because it's already in half. Saves the job. So that is what I would think would be a reasonably good solution. Another solution would be, if you're willing to use your buoyancy aids or life jackets a little bit sacrificially, is going to draw quite an involved picture here. Hope you're ready for this. Okay, here we go. So if this is the water, we need 2 colors. It's just one of those things. And then this is the land, rocky. What I would do is I would, on the land, this works if you're sailing with a crew, because you're going to need 2. You put your buoyancy aid, this is the land, buoyancy aid or life jacket just out of the water on the land, and then lifting the front of the boat as high up as you can. You then pull the boat towards the beach with the front of the boat lifted really high, so that we're floating the boat as much as we can into the beach. And then once you get to a point where you can't go any further, then you rest the hull on whatever you've put on the beach as padding, and then maybe slide it, or maybe just rest it there as you're coming out of the water. So there you go, Dobie. I hope, though, I think the guttering solution is pretty good, and you could take a section on the boat with you. You could drill a hole in the guttering on both sides, and then take a line from those holes going to the front of the boat, so that you could tie it on, stop it disappearing. All right, Mr. Tony KP has come in with, why not use the PVC balloons you use at both sides to protect both sides in harbors? Oh, fenders. Yeah, you could. If you wanted to take a fender with you, or 2 fenders, then you could use fenders as rollers to bring your boat out of the water. So there are options there. All right. So yeah, I hope that helps, Dobie. Moving on in the live chat, we've got Max on board in Rosenheim, Germany. Great to have you with us, Max. Sorry, just clipping there a little bit. Perhaps I was getting a bit excited because Max is on board. Toot is on board, probably somewhere in deepest, darkest Texas. Thanks for tuning in, Toot. It's always nice to know that you're there. We've got Paulius in Lithuania in the Catamaran sailing team. Great to have you on board. Nice to hear from you. Thanks for coming. Got Lee in Macon, Georgia. Thanks for coming, Lee. Nice to have you with us. And then we've got Jan, who says, maybe a strange question. What would you say the minimum size of water suitable to sail on a Hobie 16? Do you think 258 hectares, I think that would be 635 acres reservoir, is big enough to sail a Hobie 16 on? Oh my word, there's a question. All right, I'm just going to, this is a great question, by the way. I'm just going to, how big is 162? So what do you say, 200? Yeah, so I've just looked up on Google. There's a lake near to where I used to live in the UK called Alton Water, and that is 162 hectares. That would be just big enough to sail a 16 on. So your lake of almost double that, I would say, is big enough, but you will have to be tacking perhaps a bit more often than most people would like to. But having said that, that way you are going to become a much better sailor than somebody who is sailing with just loads and loads and loads of space. By having less space, it's going to force you into doing more maneuvers, which is going to make you a better sailor. So there you go. I'd say yes. If they'll let you, then do it. Boom. All right. All right. So Dobie's coming back. Guttering well understood. As to life jackets, particularly the seats, cushions, understood. Yes. Great. I'm glad that that helps. Of course, anything else, I'm here to help. And moving on to the next preloaded question. And this one comes from Andrea. Don't need to wipe that out. We'll keep that. Andrea asks, can you use a windsurf or kite surfing harness for sailing? Now, there's 2 types of windsurfing and kite surfing harness. And the one type is the waist harness, which, as it sounds, it goes around your waist, and the hook is probably just a little bit higher up than your belly button kind of position. And those harnesses, I would say, don't use for sailing, because when you're windsurfing or kite surfing, a lot of your body weight, well, most of it, is still on your feet. Whereas when you're sailing and you're on the trapeze, pretty much all of your weight, like, I don't know, 80% of your weight is going through your harness. So if you're wearing a waist harness on the trapeze, then that's all of your weight just going through that bit of your back, and you are going to hurt yourself, I think. However, with windsurfing and kite surfing, there's also the seat harness, and the seat harness is pretty much identical to a sailing harness, but just without the back support. And I would say, as long as you haven't got a bad back already and you're in good physical condition, then sailing with just a seat harness is fine. In fact, back in the day, about all of the instructors on the Wild Wind Beach would wear windsurfing seat harnesses for catamaran sailing, because we all just liked to not have quite as much stuff going on, and it wouldn't get in the way of the suntan. It's not as bulky. It's a lot easier to move around the boat. With a seat harness, it's good also if you are just sailing short legs. So perhaps not if you're going to do a long distance or a regatta where you're probably going to be on the trapeze for longer periods of time. That's what I reckon on that topic. Yes. But of course, the sailing harness is always going to be best, because what we're looking to do, as well as be comfortable, is we're looking to protect our back. And with the sailing harnesses, they generally come with a back support these days, which you can really move around so it goes into the right bit of your back, which means you are less likely to have pain after your sailing session. There we go. All right, we've got Russell on board, dialed N-07. Great to have you back, Russell. It's been a while, but we knew you were there. So thanks for coming back to us. Big changes coming for you this year in the channel. What are you looking forward to most? Funny you should ask. Yes. So, yes, there are big changes coming for me this year. There's more big changes than you would expect, because not only have I got big changes at work, but also we've just bought this house, which is why I've got this glamorous new Joyrider TV studio with, it seems like, internet that works now that my boy has stopped playing Fortnite for a bit. But as well as buying a new house, it is my last year working on the Wild Wind Beach for Wild Wind in a kind of, like, let's say, a full-time position. I've worked on the Wild Wind Beach in a full-time position now for 27 years. That is a long time, but I think that just says what a great place it is that we've got going on here, to still be working here. I don't own it. Oh no. To be working in the same place for that length of time really must mean that this place is cooking on gas. Oh yes, cooking on gas. Yeah, so, but I've decided that after 27, it'll be 28 years this year of working on the Wild Wind Beach, it's time to do something different. And what I'm going to do is put more time into making the videos, and I'm going to make the video aspect of what I'm doing at the moment my main job, which is why you guys supporting Joyrider TV, either on Patreon, through channel memberships, through going to the totaljoyrider.com online store, is so important, because it's by you guys doing that that means that I can go pretty much full time with the videos, which hopefully means I'm going to be able to help you guys more, because I'm going to have more time to do it. I'm still going to be using the facilities at Wild Wind Sailing Holidays and sailing in Vasiliki Bay to make the videos, but I'm going to have more time to do that. But I'm also going to start offering up some private coaching as well, ideally for anybody who's coming here. But if perhaps you're somewhere else in the world and you don't mind forking out to getting me there, forking out is sort of English slang for paying for, to get me there, as well as my hate to say it, my fee. But then I could come sailing with you for a week and really sort out your boat, sort out your sailing as well. But what am I looking forward to most for this year? I'm really looking forward to the Tornado Association has just released the dates of the events this year. And in August this year is going to be the World Championships at Lake Como, Italy. Oh, yes. So it's my intention, along with Swedish John, to go to the Tornado World Championships, hopefully get a good result, but definitely get some high quality content for Joyrider TV from that event. There we go. Thanks very much, Russell. All right, so the lake that Jan is talking about is in the Czech Republic. Yeah, nice. All right, yeah. If you get out on that lake, Jan, maybe send us some pictures for Show Us Your Cat. That would be fantastic. You may be wondering, what has happened to Show Us Your Cat? It is still on the back burner. The thing with Show Us Your Cat is putting the videos together is extremely time consuming. So I really have to have time on my hands to be able to put an episode of Show Us Your Cat together. Thanks to everybody who's already sent in pictures or video for the next episode of Show Us Your Cat. So it won't be this weekend, but hopefully next weekend. This weekend, I'm hopefully going to have the speed stick video coming out so that we can all see what's been going on there. All right. So Dobie says, is it possible to trapeze on a wave Hobie? About 16 camping style considerations. All right. On a Hobie wave, I'm not actually sure. I don't think people, if anybody knows, could you put it in the comments? Do you trapeze on a Hobie wave? I don't think you do. When I sailed the Hobie wave, it didn't even have a tiller extension, which means that you would be having to steer with your toes. Yeah. All right. And then Hobie 16 camping style considerations. Yeah. So if you're going camping on any type of catamaran, the main consideration is where do you put your gear? Yeah. And from having discussions on this in the past, what we think is, if this is the hull, there we've got the luxury of the raised trampoline on the 16, of course. The best place to put your gear is going to be if you can get hold of a long dry bag, and then put your gear just behind the mast, so tied to the trampoline. So this is looking down this long bag. Then that is really going to be the best choice, because you've got the most chance of keeping the gear away from the water, but also the weight of the gear is going to be in quite a neutral position. So although the boat is going to be weighed down a little bit by that gear, it's not going to be in a bad place where you're either going to be dragging the transoms or in more risk of sticking the nose in. So that is where I would put my gear for camping. And then you could either take a tent, or if you're a bit more casual like me, you could make a tent out of your mainsail using the boom. Do I need to draw this? Yeah, let's have it. Using the boom as like a ridge pole kind of thing, and then tie the end of the boom to the main halyard, and then using the mainsail over the boom down each side. You've got quite a nice open-ended tent. Lovely. Why not? But then I think a lot of people, the modern tents available these days are so compact that you might as well take a real tent. Then this is where the 16 falls down a bit, because the trampoline on the 16 with the shape makes it less ideal for pitching a tent on. If you've ever pitched a tent on a Hobie 16, put it in the comments. We want to know. There we go. Yeah, that is what I would consider. But one of the main considerations is, where are you going to go, and what sort of distance is that? And really think long and hard about your destination for going on a camping trip, and what contingency plans can you have, like if the wind isn't quite as good as you thought it would be, or where are some safe stopping places between where you're starting and where you're intending to get to. All right, so we've got Charlie Sailing on board. Great to have you with us, Charlie. Thanks for coming. And we got Second Mouse Gets the Cheese. Everyone knows the second mouse gets the cheese. What about the first mouse? What was he up to? Yeah, he says, best wishes from New Zealand. It's 5:30 a.m. Got nice tides for a morning sail. Great stuff. Glad to have you on board at the crack of dawn, perhaps even before dawn there. All right. So he also says, you've taken us from crayons to perfume. I'm on my third Hobie. This one's a 17. Thanks for your videos and tips. Oh, it's so good to hear that you have really been getting the most out of catamaran sailing and finding the love for the sport. Great stuff. Have a great sail today there. All right. And then Leland Lee about the Hobie wave says, structurally, I would say that you can't trapeze from a Hobie wave. So there we go. Okay, so that is all we've got in the bag for today. So thank you very much indeed for tuning in, everybody who's tuned in. If you could just take the time to hit the like button before you leave, that would be great. It just means that more people will get to see this fine body of work that we've put together this afternoon. Otherwise, hopefully I'll have that speed stick video done for Sunday, and I'll be back soon anyway with some more from the all-new Joyrider TV studio. Thank you very much. See you soon. Be safe out there. Watch out for the big fish.